Stu Ferguson pulled the collar of his coat up round his neck and shivered as he walked through the night on his way to his overnight cleaning job at the steelworks. Weird thing was, it hadn't been cold a few seconds ago, but as he'd passed Blackcastle Passage just now, a gust of wind had whipped around him and surprised him. OK, Camden at the start of winter was never the warmest part of London at the best of times, but that had been a very sudden blast of icy air. Stu realised it had faded away, and he tentatively pulled his collar back down, peering up Blackcastle Passage, a small mews-like walkway which led to the back entrances of many of the shops that ranged along the main street. He was quite surprised to see a tall, thin guy in a long blue coat, hands in pockets, whistling to himself, strolling towards him, his brown hair blowing slightly in the breeze. Odder still, Stu thought, was that massive blue box behind him. Stu could normally see the back doors of the shoe shop from this angle, but tonight that weird blue box was in the way. Stu thought it looked familiar. And then it hit him. His granddad had been a copper back after the war, and his mum used to have a photo of him on the mantelpiece, standing outside a box like that. They used to be called police boxes. Surely no one made police boxes anymore. So what was this one doing there? "That your box, mate?" he found himself asking the thin man. I'm sorry," said the man, his voice betraying his most likely South London origins. "Oh, that box. No, that box, nothing to do with me. Oh, no." Then he threw a look directly back down the passage at the box. "Because if that was my box, it wouldn't have just kicked me out. It wouldn't have dumped me here and locked its doors without so much as a..." The man stopped as he realised Stu was gaping at him. "Sorry, I tend to go on a bit." Stu had a sudden feeling of, what did they call it, déjà vu. Had he met this bloke before, maybe working at the steelworks? Nah. So maybe he'd been a customer back in his milk round days. There was something tickling on the tip of Stu's mind about him. Oh well. "You all right, mate?" Stu asked. "Yeah, fine, no problem." Stu smiled. "Missus kicked you out, yeah? My ex did that once. My mate Billy says..." The stranger didn't seem to be listening, and instead just interrupted Stu's train of thought. "Oh, I'm in London." He flicked his tongue out a couple of times like a lizard. "Tastes like the 21st century." He looked over at a shop. It was empty, boarded up, but Stu could still see the name on a faded sign above the door, Megabyte City. "Went out of business donkeys years ago," Stu said to the stranger. "That time all them planets appeared in the sky." Stu sighed. "Lost my job that day, you know. I was a milkman back then, and..." "Planets? In the sky?" The stranger seemed very dismissive. "One of those it never happened lot, are you? Well, it did happen," Stu said angrily. "Cost me everything. Lots of people died, and..." The stranger suddenly touched Stu's arm. "It's all right," he said softly. "It was a long time ago." And Stu felt curiously relaxed. He smiled. Yeah, it was. Right, anyway, mate, gotta get off to work now." And feeling relaxed, no, really, really relaxed, for the first time in, well, as long as he could remember, Stu Ferguson felt good. Tonight's shift would be okay, he reckoned. Yeah, nothing could upset him now. And Stu wandered off whistling. He hadn't done that in years either. As the man left, the doctor shoved his hands back into his coat pockets and with one last wistful look back at his TARDIS, stepped out into the busy street. Things had been weird. That was probably the best word. Then again, it always was after his body had gone through that strange metamorphosis his people called regeneration. One minute he'd been a blonde woman standing on a cliff top. The next, bang, a flash of golden regeneration energy, and he'd become a tall, gangly man.